This episode of the Construction Record is brought to you by the Ontario Sewer and Water Main Construction Association. Clean water is everybody's business.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Construction Record podcast. This is Vince Versace, National Managing Editor of the Daily Commercial News and Journal of Commerce, joining you today for this special podcast. Before I get into talking with our special guests that we have today, I have a message for our listeners and the readers of our publications. And that message is a thank you message, because for the fourth year in a row, this podcast, The Construction Record, has been ranked by FeedSpot as one of the top 20 construction podcasts to follow on the web. So that's 4 years in a row for your beloved The Construction Record, being ranked in the top 20. And within that top 20, we've been ranked in the top 5 each year. And when you look at everybody on that list, we're always the top Canadian podcast as well. So a big thank you to all our listeners for being with us on this journey. As those of you that have been there since day one, you know, it was a long run. The format has changed. We've learned along the way, and you've been patient with us. We've taken your feedback, good and bad, and worked with it. And for our readers, those of you that have been able to make this transition to incorporating this medium into understanding the construction intel and stories that impact you, thank you for taking the time to do that. Because when we get results like this, it means we're onto something special here, and we'll keep building for you in telling those construction stories. So my thanks again. Now, I mentioned this podcast is special because I have two guests that I've never had before on the podcast, that have never appeared here, but I think it's not going to be the last time. And with me, I have Dave Conway, President and CEO of ConstructConnect. And I have Jonathan Kost, Executive Vice President and General Manager of the GC team. I have Dave and Jonathan with us because those of you who were with us last week know Mark Casaletto has left ConstructConnect Canada, and we did a goodbye episode with him. And we thought, why not talk to our leadership that's in place to kind of give an idea to not just the Canadian market, but to all our listeners, what's in store as far as ConstructConnect Canada, and just maybe reflect a little bit more on Mark and some of the innovation that we have underway. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jonathan and Dave. Jonathan and Dave, welcome to the Construction Record podcast.
Hey, happy to be here, Vince. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Vince. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Hey, also, I'd like to also thank your listeners and your readers, and congratulate them and congratulate you for high quality, consistent deliverable of the podcast and a great ranking for our industry. So congratulations.
No, thank you very much, Dave. And actually, I'm remiss to say, I shouldn't be just taking the thanks myself. I have to thank my team. This team, Warren Fry, Lindsay Cole, Russell Hickson, our fellow co-hosts, the voices you've heard on this podcast over the last 4 years that help edit it and come up with the ideas, they've all contributed to that success as well. So thank you very much, Dave. And congrats to the team overall. Yeah. So
it's a team effort always. So thanks to the team as well.
Exactly. And that's why we have you here too, because as far as the Canadian team, Mark has moved on to find new adventures, a new chapter in his life. So I thought it'd be a benefit to have you and Jonathan talk to our listeners, talk to the industry in general about what's in store for Canada as far as ConstructConnect. And as I mentioned, talk about some innovation and maybe some thoughts on Mark, because you both have extensive experience in working with the industry. Jonathan, you have some Canadian blood. I think you probably want to share that with our listeners. So take us away. Tell us about yourself. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Really have enjoyed my past 20 plus years as a career working in the construction software, data and analytics business. I've been at it from a couple of different sides of the equation. Started out really on the property claims estimating and underwriting estimatic side of the equation. So taking damaged buildings and figuring out what the cost is to return them to whole, and working and creating software to make that whole process better and to connect consumers with claims adjusters and so on. So it's been a great ride there, and most recently now on new construction and retrofits and making sure that we connect people in order to fulfill on that need for the industry as well. So been a great ride, really enjoyed it. I did, as you mentioned, grow up in Canada, was born in Ontario, spent a few years there before migrating to Halifax. It was London, Ontario, Spent a few years there before migrating to Halifax, Nova Scotia for about 8 years, and then finally Victoria, British Columbia. So still have family there in Victoria, in London, in LaSalle, in Ottawa, in Toronto. And so it's great to get back up when I can, and I'm looking forward to the chance to do so as this COVID thing subsides. So yeah, thank you for this. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you. And Dave, maybe for some of our listeners who aren't familiar with you, a bit of background.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vince.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been in the industry. I was just doing the math here. I've been in the industry 38 years. Started right out of in Canada, as you would say, right out of university, and I worked for a company that sold building products, and we had them fabricated, and we were responsible for the installation. So had to do my own takeoffs and had to search for projects and had to build relationships with general contractors and also get our product specified by the design professionals in the industry. So I had an opportunity to learn the industry from the ground up, and I've been in it ever since. About 20 years ago, I joined a small little company based in Cincinnati, Ohio called I Square Foot. I joined as the CEO, and over the last 20 years, we've been very fortunate to build our business with a real kind of genuine focus on the industry and all of the participants that enable a project to get built and completed, and just have this really deep respect for what it takes to successfully build a building or build a bridge or build a road, and how hard it is to be successful. And we work really hard every day trying to do what we can do to ensure that our customers are more successful with us than without us. And I have a particular level of both commitment and respect for ConstructConnect Canada, and just the DCN and the JOC, and I think the DCN has been around now 109, 110 years. If my math's right. And so we feel both a responsibility and an obligation to maintain and grow our Canada-centric business. And I say this to the team in Canada every chance I get. I love the team in Canada and the work that's being done there. And the commitment, we were just awarded again one of the best places to work in Canada. There's just such a strong team, and I give Mark a lot of credit for building and growing the culture. And we're really excited about Mark in terms of the future that he's pursuing, and we miss him, and are thankful that he led the business for nearly 15 years, and we fully expect to continue forward in much the same way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we have an interesting position in the industry, right? It goes beyond the DCN and JOC. Sure, I come at it from one point of view, from that editorial side, but we understand that ConstructConnect in general in Canada, it serves everybody, right? It's not just about our readers. Just like in the US, 75 to 78% of the Canadian construction market is mom and pop. Right? It's 1 to 20 people in a firm. They need services that are willing to innovate and change and provide them that intel and advantage. And Jonathan, like you deal with the GC group, right? So your approach in dealing with the GC teams, does it ever go, how do you say, you know what I mean? You're always remembering the ground floor, you know what I mean? The people that make this industry hum.
Yeah, absolutely. I find one of the most fascinating things is getting together with customers and talking with them about, the pressures that they have on a daily basis, but also the accomplishments that they've made. And as you do the drive-by of the skyline and you talk about the impact that these construction businesses have on not only the economy, but the local communities, it's fascinating, it's complicated, and it's fraught today with lots of opportunities to improve. And lots of places where we're being asked to help with that improvement. And so I think that's just an exciting place to be. And it doesn't matter whether or not you're a $5 million GC or smaller, or you're doing all the largest construction jobs in Canada or the US, the part that you're contributing to the economy, to the communities, and to the people inside of them, working on these projects, it's huge. And so the responsibility is big to help those folks get it right, to help them succeed at every chance we get. And that's what we try to do. I enjoy the heck out of it.
How about you, Dave? You 38 years, you've seen a lot of growth and change in the industry. You know, we've talked about what plans rooms used to look like, what takeoffs used to be like, and it's amazing the mountains of paper that would keep this industry buried almost at times. I think back to my dad's work trailer back in the day. So, you know, where do you think we are now as far as Canadian operations, U.S. operations, as far as the innovation we like to bring to the industry and the service in general?
You know, it's a great question, Vince. Look, I think from our vantage point, the innovation is accelerating. For many years, I remember way back 20 years ago when we first put drawings online. A lot of folks at that point didn't have email addresses, and those who did had gained access to the information superhighway, it was called then, with a 1500 baud modem, trying to download scanned in drawings that were 1 megabyte apiece per page. And so we pioneered some of that transition, and from that scenario 20 years ago to today, where we have design being done in 3D and 4D and 5D, deliverable and the built environment and how it's changed, it's pretty significant. However, there are certain things that remain constant. And one of the reasons I love our industry is the humble confidence that comes from the folks, men and women, who do the hard work in our industry. And there's so much to be proud about. I mean, the last time I was in Toronto, the skyline is amazing. I mean, it's amazing. And Jonathan mentioned it, but the industry is humble about that. And it's about relationships, and it's about integrity, and it's about trust, and it's about building relationships that ultimately there's a known interdependence that exists between companies that do what we do and the fact that the folks who actually do the work. And so when you lay that down as a foundation, what we've seen and expect to see more of is innovation defined as better information delivered more efficiently and more collaboratively that improve outcomes being delivering projects on time, at or under budget. And everything that's being done to enable that to happen, to advance our industry to a level whereby there's a higher degree of predictability, is what we strive to do, is to provide the data, information, tools, and software solutions that in the pre-construction phase that ensure a higher probability of success. And
I think that's really the key too, is, you know, the data underpins all of it, you know, the ability to have data, but the amount of data that we're creating and the new sources and the opportunities for that data are just getting greater as we talk about building that data into connected workflows where the data is available at the time that you need to make a decision. And it's readily available and it's right in the workflow. And that's a lot of what we see as the opportunity for advancing pre-construction, is better data, more data at the time you need it in the workflows that you're working through on a daily basis, and in those tools that you operate in order to increase that predictability like Dave's talking about and increase the chance of a successful outcome. So it's a great time.
For sure. And I think the hunger is there in the industry. Forgive me for the little tale I'll spin. For some of our listeners, they've heard me say this before, but so my father used to subscribe to the Daily Commercial News. So when he was building residential homes, building homes in Milton, Peterborough, for those of you that are from the Ontario area, you have this, starts his business, comes to Canada, lives the dream, starts building homes. Here comes his son years later, right? There's the editor of the paper he used to have up in his lunchroom. You know what I mean? In the lunch trailer. And, the paper, as he used to say, hey, it taught a bunch of us how to read and speak English, that paper. The point of the story, though, is I remember starting to introduce him to some of the innovation and some of the technology and things we were working on, especially under our ConstructConnect time, our chapter, once it started. And I remember, Jonathan, is to your point, and Dave, too, is the certainty. Well, my dad said, this old Italian man, when he started to kind of understand what we were delivering, he's like, if I had only had this, you know what I mean? The decisions I could have made better, in building some of those subdivisions and sorting out my labor and my materials. He's like, why aren't people doing this all the time, right? And it was interesting because you would think technologically he's behind, but he actually, as a man of the industry, understood the value of what underpins the decision making in the pre-construction process, right? So I always kind of remember that when I think about our customers, not just the readers, but our customers. Is right. They're sorting out their livelihoods. They're trying to be successful, to feed their families, keep the industry vibrant, and it's exciting. I think it's exciting when I see what we're developing and bringing to market, right?
Yeah, and look, the really impressive thing about the team, the ConstructConnect team in Canada, is the transition that the team has made in the digitization of not just the DCN and the JOC, and not just the plan room, but bringing it together now in an integrated application that enables you to search and find and enables us to proactively deliver projects that may have the potential to enable you to, or you review that list of projects, if you will, and select those projects that you have a high probability to win, and to have the ability to confidently do a takeoff, so that when you submit a number, you're confident that if you win that project, that there's margin there for you to be successful. And that, for us, that process of selecting, or evaluating and selecting and ultimately submitting a number with confidence is really it's critically important. And some of the things that we're focused on is to enable those documents enable the technology to extract even more information out of those documents, so that we can further personalize the projects that you're evaluating. Mm-hmm. And the closer we can come to providing you with the data and the confidence to select the right projects, the more likely that you're going to be more successful for those projects that you bid, because that's a fixed resource. A contractor has a certain amount of capacity to estimate projects, and to spend resources estimating the wrong projects can be detrimental to the long-term viability of the business. And so we're really trying to better understand the needs of a particular customer, use data analytics to hyper-personalize that experience, so that, again, in the end, it's all about building businesses and feeding families and being successful day in and day out.
I think too, the other aspect that's important is a lot of this industry is built on relationships and experience, right? It's collaboration. It's collaboration in pre-con, but it's collaboration in the build process too. And I think supporting that relationship, helping folks understand where there's been success and where there's been challenges in the past, and where there's risk that's created, is an important aspect of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to introduce too. So a way for folks to find one another through the network that we provide, a way for them to collaborate on this pre-construction process, a way to understand any risk that's introduced either from the design risk from just overall capacity, whatever it might be, but understanding all those things that really contribute to that higher opportunity to succeed. So it's a combination. There's a people piece to this, there's a technology piece to this, there's a data piece to this. That's kind of what makes this whole industry really an exciting place to be, from my perspective.
So how about the road ahead then, as we start to wrap up? Maybe do you have a message for the Canadian stakeholders in the industry that were familiar with us and familiar with Mark? What's kind of the road ahead look like for ConstructConnect in Canada?
Yeah, well, look, first and foremost, we have a huge amount of respect for the Canadian team and their commitment to our customers in Canada. And just as an example, we're excited about Canada. We love what happens there every year. This past year was a little different, but historically, what happens there. So we'll clearly continue with Canada. We have some very important strategic relationships with trade associations and other entities throughout the country that are very important to us. We have a responsibility and obligation to the owners in the market to make sure that their information is accurate and delivered to the industry in a timely and accurate way. So those are all things that we'll continue to invest in. We are really focused on, we call it talent management, but investing in our team so that they're equipped with the information and the technology and access to resources to both grow personally and professionally. So we're going to continue to do that. We believe that a strong presence in Canada to support our customers is paramount, and we'll continue to invest and grow. For our data businesses, we had the best quarter ever. It's growing very nicely, and we're going to continue to invest and grow to bring technology and innovation to the industry in the Canadian market.
I think it's important to note too that it's going to be the same great people, the same great team that's been delivering on that for years in the Canadian market that's going to execute on it, right? As you guys discussed in the podcast with Mark, most of these folks in this business came from the industry, and it's grounded in the history of that. And so the support of our customers, the investment in that going forward, and the commitment to it is unwavering. And it's exciting to see the transformation that's already occurred, and it's exciting to be working with that team to participate in the transformation that's coming with the introduction of the digital workflow tools and additional data and so on. So I think the future is really bright.
I would say so too. I'm excited to see it. Not that I'm excited to see Mark go. This is not about Mark, but it's about just how the team has been over the last 4 or 5 years. It's engaged. These teams are engaged beyond my department, and I can tell that. And the thing is, the beauty of what we do on the editorial team, we interact with the industry in a very different way when they're interacting with us. But I can see we're making the impact because they ask about the other arm. You know what I mean? What is going on? What's this about? And whereas under past predecessors, past ownership, that would almost come in almost a negative kind of scary way. Like, what are you guys doing? What is it about this product, right? I find, or my reporters are finding, they don't find as much suspicion. It's more like, hey, this is interesting. I think that's maybe more the context of where the industry's at too, right? A little bit more open to wanting to introduce or at least experiment with innovation, right? Yeah. So I don't know if you find that, but that's the sense that we get.
Yeah, I think that's true, Vince. We're investing more in R&D this year than we ever have before by a significant measure, and we'll continue to do that. I think that as these tools become more and more prevalent and they continue to evolve, I think to the point Jonathan made earlier, that they're really designed to enhance the human relationships. And our team in Canada has embraced that. And we're seeing great results, not our company's results, those are great, but what we're getting in the way of feedback from our customers and the users of our applications and the consumers of our data is really, really positive. And so we're encouraged by it. I agree with Jonathan and your sentiment, Vince, about the future couldn't be any brighter. And we're going to continue to grow together and invest together. And I'd be remiss again if I didn't congratulate you and your listeners and the team, your team, Vince, that supports this podcast, because you have a voice in the industry. And I think everybody who listens would agree that your voice advocates positively for our industry. And I'll speak for the listeners and for John and I. We respect you for that, and we respect what you're doing for the industry. And it's fun to watch and fun to listen.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. We take it seriously. People sometimes when they think about B2B publications, they think soft, fluffy stories, but we believe, like when you look at my team, you have people that have construction in their family, even right now. Their partners may be in construction, they may be in the trades, or they come from a family like I did, where you grew up around sawdust and hammers. You know what I mean? Like, we're familiar with it. And so we take it to, we hold the industry accountable when we need to. Like this past winter in Ontario, where we had 6 deaths in 8 days on construction sites, we put everybody on notice. The ministry and the industry, it's like, this is unacceptable. You know what I mean? What are you guys doing? Is it the post-COVID fatigue? Is it this? Is it that? And people understood that's our role. You know what I mean? As not a vanguard per se, but people that just want people to be healthy and come home at night, right? And if there's one bias our news team has, that is a bias inherent, because we have family members in the industry. We want everybody to come home. So what are you doing about a Ministry of Labor? What are you doing about a GC authority, GC association? We take it serious. So thank you, Dave. Really appreciate that. And I know our team will take that to heart too. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
With that, I think we're ready to wrap up. Any last parting words? Anything else you want to say to the listeners?
I would just say, hey, look, we're on a journey here. It's an exciting one. I think Mark mentioned a little bit of this. We're on a journey to make pre-con better, and it's going to be a small step and leaps at a time. There's going to be small incrementals, and there's going to be big ones. And we're excited for each and every one of those. Doesn't matter if it's small or if it's big, it's moving things forward. And that's kind of our charter and our charge, and gets us up every day, or at least from my perspective. So thank you for the opportunity to chat with your listeners.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. Dave, any last thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, Vince, thanks for the opportunity to be here with you today. Look, we're highly vested and invested in the Canadian market, and will continue to be so. Same with the U.S. We've been very fortunate to continue to serve a ever-growing list of customers. Our business has grown consistently for 20 years, and that's a record we like, and we want to keep it. And we do it because we work very, very hard to be customer first, family first, and focused on those two things. And if we get those two things right, the business seems to do well, and we'll stay true to that. And we look forward to continuing to grow in Canada and have some fun along the way.
For sure. Sounds good. All right. With that, thank you, gentlemen, so much for making some time to appear here. Hopefully it's not the last time. I don't think it will be. We'll do another check-in for sure. Maybe wrap up the year, see what we saw, and maybe talk some baseball, some hockey, football, all kinds of sports between the three of us. I think we could cover.
Yeah, you cover a bunch.
Yeah, come the fall. So once again, listeners, thank you so much. Thanks for your support over the last 4 years. Thanks for growing with us. We look forward to delivering the news and the stories that you need to be successful, and to give you another layer of what's going on around you, so you understand it a bit better. And remember to follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and you can find our podcasts on the DCNONL.com and JOCONL.com, or on Libsyn and Spotify. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
This episode of The Construction Record is brought to you by the Greater Toronto Sewer and Water Main Contractors Association. Clean water, our goal, our future.